Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening. Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about Bumblebee? Stick around and find out. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, robots in disguise. The single solitary Autobot wages his battle to keep the Decepticons from coming to Earth so the Autobots can find a safe new home. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from Spirit Blade Productions and ChristianGeekCentral.com. This is my uncut review of Bumblebee. The synopsis on IMDb reads, a young blank who recently lost their father befriends a giant, innocent robot from outer space who is unable to speak and doesn't know the ways of Earth creatures. Meanwhile, a paranoid government agent wants to destroy the giant robot. Wait a minute. That's not the synopsis for this movie. That's the Iron Giant, silly. The synopsis for Bumblebee reads, on the run in the year of 1987, Bumblebee finds refuge in a junkyard in a small Californian beach town. Charlie, on the cusp of turning 18 and trying to find her place in the world, discovers Bumblebee battle-scarred and broken. So let's talk about the story and the general feel and tone of this thing. It's going for much more heart than I think the original Transformers movies did. I reviewed, I believe, the first Transformers movie many moons ago. Really disliked it, didn't review a single one after that. I did, by various means, kind of catch up on those films when I had the opportunity to watch them for free over the years. Just curious, did they get any better, and are they getting any closer to my kind of movie? No. But seeing the trailer for this one, I could tell, or at least the trailer seemed to indicate, that they were going for some more heart in this movie. That it looked like it was going to touch, give me the feels maybe or something. So that's why I wanted to check this one out, and also because it looks like it is potentially being positioned as a soft reboot for the Transformers movie franchise. So and yeah, I'm happy to say that it does go for at least more heart than previous Transformers movies. It even made me tear up in one scene. The rest, though, and that was a very isolated moment, the rest, unfortunately, felt very much like a paint-by-the-numbers kind of story beat experience, like recycling beats from a dozen other movies of its kind, where there's some young adult or kid that comes across an alien or a robot or some kind of animal or something like that that is cute, but it has some secret abilities or is capable in some way, but is also destructive in other ways unintentionally, and so it's cute because of the way it doesn't know the way of Earth creatures and bumbles around and destroys things. And, there's a bunch of movies, like that. You could make a top 10 list of those kinds of movies. So, yeah, compared to the other Transformers movies, I felt like there were far fewer forced jokes and almost an entire lack of kind of like juvenile sexual humor in this movie, which I really appreciated. There's some really cringy stuff in the original Transformers movies for me. This felt actually more like a children's movie, but with PG-13 levels of violence. And in place of sexualized teen quote-unquote romance, we see in this movie this sort of sweet budding romance kept very innocent and all the more endearing, I think, because of it. The humor in the movie is largely based on Iron Giant type scenarios where Bumblebee, who has lost his memory for most of this movie, behaves like a lost puppy the size of a tank, inadvertently wrecking things around him. So if that sounds endearing or funny or whatever to you, then you might find a lot to enjoy in this movie. It was not working for me. It had an 80s vibe in a way that it just kind of made me roll my eyes. There was like parents and authority figures that are clueless, and they're the antagonists of the story, while the plucky youths, that are downtrodden in some way or another, are finding their way in the world, and and they're the only ones that really know what's going on and stuff. And then you got rich, spoiled, cool kids that are ganging up to make fun of the low-income outsiders. So it was weird. I would have preferred that the movie felt like life maybe kind of felt in the 80s, what little I remember of it anyway, rather than what it seemed to be doing, which was trying to replicate what movies were like in the 80s. So that was the general feel of the movie, the story and stuff like that was very disappointing to me, unfortunately. But a step forward in the direction toward things that I would like compared to the other Transformers movies. The performances by the cast were all fine for me. I just didn't care for the material that they had to work with. The dialogue in some situations were feeling very cliche to me, and that inevitably forced the actors to behave in overly simplistic, psychologically unrealistic ways, which fits this kind of movie. I just prefer psychological realism. Stunts and visuals, hey, lots of CGI robots that look like CGI robots, rock'em sock'em, bumping around and explodey boomy, It was better than looking at organic CG characters. I much prefer, because as I've said many times before, my eye just picks out CG, and so I prefer machines being replicated by CG, because the movement can look kind of artificial and fluid, and it won't bother me because it's a machine that it's representing, as opposed to like a humanoid creature or a leopard or something like that. As far as like meaningful themes or anything, no, I mean, there's nothing that really jumped out to me when I watch a movie like this, and there's no place for me to invest in it emotionally. Very often that will make it even harder for me to notice any themes that they might be going for, and I just felt like this movie was very surfacey and cliche, and so I just didn't feel led into any kind of meaningful thought. Now, I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I would go back in time and say, Peter, skip. Watch The Iron Giant again. Man, what a great movie. Thematically rich and far more heart in that movie than this movie had. And that's an animated movie, and there's still more weight and heart in that movie. Or alternatively, approach Bumblebee like a kid's movie. Even though it's PG-13, approach it like a kid's movie, and still don't watch it yet, but finish watching the cartoons and animated movie of the 80s Transformers franchise with your boys, and then sometime after that, watch this with them so they can appreciate that cool opening sequence in Bumblebee on Cybertron, and how faithful all those character creations are to the 80s cartoon. That, for someone who knows the 80s cartoons, there's some really cool things to enjoy in that opening sequence, and that way your boys will be primed to really get a kick out of seeing those characters in live action, and you'll get a kick out of seeing them get a kick out of it. Alright, that's it. It's rated PG-13 for sequences of sci-fi, action, and violence. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. And let's see, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, lest you think, after me giving 2 back-to-back reviews of movies that I just did not like, lest you think that I'm a grouch and I just don't enjoy movies in general, stay tuned. Next week I'm going to be sharing my top 10 movies list from 2018. So I hope you'll come back for that. And of course, I hope you join us over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. christiangeekcentral.com